Hi folks, my name is Teri, and today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of the Song of Ice and Fire tabletop miniature game, which I actually got my hands on at CMON Expo over the weekend. I'm really in love with this game. I think it's something truly special, and that it encapsulates everything I truly love about tabletop miniature wargaming. I think that if you are at all a fan of the Song of Ice and Fire book series, or the television show that it inspired, also known as Game of Thrones, if you haven't heard of it, you should totally look it up. I think that it is a beautiful interpretation of that world, and the way that they have translated it onto the tabletop is not only really true to that universe, but also from a mechanical standpoint and a gaming standpoint is really intriguing and deep, as well as accessible and streamlined. To start off with, the miniatures are utterly gorgeous and absolutely characterful. All the troopers are full of heraldry and banners, exactly what you would expect of that world, and I think that when it comes to these miniatures in terms of the sculpts, they'll also take paint beautifully because they are so detailed. I had a look at some of the painted miniatures that they had as studio paint, and they are so beautiful, but even if you're not the most skilled painter, the sculpts will do so much work for you. Now, if you want to talk about this game from a mechanical standpoint, you can't not compare it to what is essentially like the granddaddy of ranked fantasy battle games, Warhammer Fantasy Battles. And Michael Chanel, who was one of the designers of the game, has admitted that he took a lot of inspiration from Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition. And you see that. You see that in the way that ranks absolutely matter. You see that in the way that morale absolutely matters. But there's also a lot of really thoughtful refinement to the mechanics, in that morale isn't an all or nothing game, and ranks do have effects. I think that cavalry and the way they've interpreted cavalry onto the tabletop from that universe, having such a huge advantage in terms of movement and maneuvering, is a big deal. And I think that that translation in the way I played the demo was really fantastic. Ranked miniature battle games are really about maneuvering, and this game is no exception to that. But what makes it, in my opinion, better than that 8th edition version of fantasy is that the ability to react to your opponent is much more open because of the alternating activation mechanic. I am a huge fan of this in miniature war games. I think that it's a very modern mechanic now, and it lets you actually engage with the game throughout the game, as opposed to waiting for your opponent to play their 10-minute version of solitaire and then you take your turn and do the same thing. There is this constant back and forth tension and constant dynamic action that's happening on the field, and I absolutely love that. When I say that this game encapsulates the best of miniature wargaming, I'm talking about the elements of lore and immersion. I'm talking about mechanics that are engaging and keep you engaged with your opponent. I'm talking about dramatic moments occurring on the tabletop. I'm talking about a focus on movement, and I'm talking about how your actions are immediately felt and reacted to. And I think that because these things are so present in this game, that it is something truly, truly special. If you're interested in finding out more specifics about the machinations, my partner in crime, Nathan, has written an article for Geek and Sundry that goes into the nuts and bolts of the mechanics of the game, so you can check those out, as well as there's a ton of kind of detailed photos of how the game plays and what the components look like, so you have a better idea of what you're looking at when you look at a unit card, for example. This game has so many elements that will feed the soul of an old and grizzled, salty gamer, but also be accessible enough that you can grab a friend and show them this game without them ever having played a tabletop miniature war game before, and they can grok it and get gaming right away. If you're interested, check out the article. I'll also be doing kind of a play-by-play video with Nathan where we recount the demo we shared and how I beat him, so I'm super excited to do that. So definitely check out my YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe so you know when that goes live. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you have questions, I'm going to be in the comments down below, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Of course, there are so many things that we don't know about the game yet. It hasn't been released, but I'll do my best based on my experiences, and hopefully you'll get a chance to check it out real soon. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.